Welcome to SPK Speak Sports. On our station, we talk about baseball and sports news, from the most recent stories to the throwbacks. Listen now to Scott, Paul, and Kelly on SPK Speak Sports as they hit the ball out of the park.
You hit the ball out of the park. Speak Sports.
Hello, my name's Mo.
I'm Larry.
And I'm curling.
This is, as you can tell, MLC Speak Sports. I just got to interject. We didn't tape, film, podcast, show, whatever last week because it was kind of an embarrassing thing after our show from 2 weeks ago. Tom Cruise came over and belittled our behind-the-scenes staff, and we were all kind of we were shocked and saddened. It wasn't like maybe he didn't have a right to do it, but the other thing for me, I don't know about you guys, I couldn't hear for 3 days because of the ringing in my ears with the decibel level. But that's another story for another podcast. We are broadcasting, by the way, from the Sarah Fuller studio today because, hey, why stop at what's been going on with her? She goes to Vanderbilt, does a 35-yard squib kick, and then to top that off, kicks not one, 2 extra points. However, does not kick the field goal that was made by some gentleman on the team because it was probably more than 25 or 30 yards away. So, but her jersey and I saw her helmet are also now in the College Hall of Fame. And I say, this is just Mo talking now. Why stop there? Why not name the stadium after her? And then, it'll take a little while, but the stadium first, a statue after that.
Well, maybe because she's now hit the road and she's going to North Texas. She's leaving Vanderbilt behind. She gave Vanderbilt the Fuller brush off. Yes. And heading for Texas. Greener pastures.
And speaking of Notre Dame, now, that game last night, it kind of broke my heart.
Who were they playing?
They were playing Clemson. Now, let me tell you, and he's talking about Sarah, and I'm going to defend Sarah in this way. Notre Dame lost 36-10. Now, people say, wow, how? But she could have helped them last night. If she was on the team, now think about this. If she was on the team, that game would have changed because this is what happened. Notre Dame got a field goal, right? It was a long field goal, and it barely went over, but it was like 48 yards or whatever. This guy has had trouble, their kicker. But he makes it. So then Notre Dame gets the ball, they move down the field, but they stall out, and they got to kick a field goal, and it's a short field goal. So what happens? They put in their field goal kicker, and he pushes it to the right. If Sarah was there, that was in her range. And if she would have made it, that jives the 3,000 people in the stands. They're all jived up now. And so he misses that field goal, and for the rest of the game, they don't use them. And there's plays where they're going for it on fourth down instead of kicking the field goal. And there was one play where the Notre Dame receiver should have had the ball. He should have caught it. It would have changed the game. And so sometimes, Scott...
Poor Kelly. You're talking about the troubles.
Sometimes, Scott, it's just what team you're on.
I have a parting gift.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keith Jackson, rumbling. Also, one other thing, just wanted to insert about the immortal Sarah Fuller, is that this is kind of what really bothers me. There were 2 women that were on college football teams prior to her. The first one was in 1997. It was an NAIA school, but hey, it was college. It's not junior college. So what is that lady thinking, or the second lady? So
if they kicked any PATs, they deserve to be the place she's
So
in.
you're not a fan. So that's okay.
No, but speaking of Johnny Bench, so I thought this is a great story. And I'm so sorry that Sarah
better
wasn't on
be.
the team.
Yeah.
So he sells not all, but a lot of his memorabilia because they said it was for his sons to be able to go to college. And it's like,
Why do you?
the
Yeah.
Blue Emu commercials aren't,
Yeah.
paying any residuals anymore. You haven't saved some money, but that's his business. So he sells his memorabilia for $1 million. Turns out it's one guy that buys all of the memorabilia, and it turns out this guy is a friend of Johnny Bench's since the 1960s. And being the good Samaritan he is, he gives all the memorabilia back to Johnny Bench. So he still has his memorabilia. He has $1 million, except, okay, I'm talking about George Bailey and the good part of It's a Wonderful Life at the end. But then Mr. Grinch came in the other day.
Yeah, sometimes a lawyer has to be a killjoy. Johnny, just, you're going to have to pay tax on that $1 million because it's income. And for the Good Samaritan friend, you're going to have to pay a gift tax on the $1 million. So why didn't you just come up with a couple of scholarships for his kids? With that kind of money, they could have gone to Notre Dame or something.
Oh my God! So in the end,
But he'll still have several hundreds of thousands of dollars. It just could have been done better.
it's
Mo better.
no
Mo.
runs, no runs,
Mo better.
no drips, and 2 errors.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ford Frick Award. Congratulations to Al Michaels. He said he was a little surprised because he hadn't done a baseball game in 25 years, but that's how good he was and still would be. I wish he could
And
be better.
he calls a great earthquake.
Well, I was going to say, that was a good payday. It
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
a couple of minutes and you're off, you know. But yeah, the 1989 earthquake. Are we still on? Are we, but the other one to me was the Dave Henderson. I hate to bring this up as Angel fans. The Dave Henderson home run in '86. That if Dave Henderson doesn't hit that home run and the Angels win that game or any of the last 2 games, Donnie Moore is maybe still alive, and Bill Buckner never commits the through his legs in the World Series.
Yeah.
But those things happen.
And I've had and I would have been happier in those times.
Yeah, I still have that game on VHS. Now I got to find a player, and why would I want to play it?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
But and interesting, the Angels were leading. Never mind. We don't.
It must suck to be a fan of Notre Dame and the Angels when you could be
Oh God!
Are you?
a champion.
Oh my God! You call it rubbing it in, man. What the heck?
And speaking of the Angels, they got a left-hander relief pitcher, Alex Claudio. So we picked up somebody whose last name isn't Iglesias.
So get your World Series tickets now, Angel fans.
And lastly, a couple weeks ago, another major ball player passed away, Dick Allen. I thought these were a couple interesting statistics among non-Hall of Famers, people not in the Hall of Fame. The OPS plus, whatever that is, he's only behind Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire. His OPS, whatever that is, from 64 to 74, Hank Aaron had a 941, whatever that represents. And Dick Allen was 940. So he's ahead of McCovey, Frank Robinson, Stargell, and Clemente.
Wow.
And he was 1 vote short of getting in the Hall of Fame in 2014 with the Veterans Committee.
For the record, not that you don't know it, but it's on base percentage plus slugging.
I know.
So he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, and he's not going to be alive to see it. That's
Well, there's a
terrible.
lot of that going around.
Yeah.
Because that brings us to the fact that the 7 best Negro leagues were just awarded MLB status, essentially posthumously, because I don't think there are very many, if any.
There's at least
surviving.
one, because they did talk to one gentleman, it was like
Okay.
94 or 5. So there's a couple, but not many.
Wow.
And what does that mean, Paul?
Well, it means a lot of chaos, which, as a lawyer, I should like, in the record books. I read that Satchel Paige was thought to have thrown about 55 no-hitters. That tells. I think that's illustrative of the difference in the quality of the competition. There were some great players in the Negro Leagues, no doubt. Satchel Paige among them. But when Nolan Ryan throws 7 no-hitters, and Satchel Paige throws 55. I'm thinking the competition that Nolan faced was stiffer. But these guys are going to get in the record books for, like, for example, Josh Gibson hit 441, I think, in 1943.
But
with 281 at bats.
exactly. So he doesn't qualify for.
He wouldn't qualify under the standards, but folks are talking about Ted Williams no longer having the premier batting average in the modern era.
Well, somebody on the MLB network and said, yeah, exactly that statement. They won't be able to say Ted Williams was the last guy to hit 400. Well, yes, we can, because Josh Gibson he had also hit 451 in like 1936. He had 89 at bats.
There are two different totals for Josh Gibson home runs in his career. One is around 800. Or nearly 800, and the other is nearly 900, depending on whether it's the Negro Leagues Hall of Fame or I can't remember what the publication. But if neither being very trustworthy, MLB, I read, may only give him credit for 350 of those home runs because record keeping was so inaccurate, and because they counted things like industrial league games and games where no one kept score. They just kind of had an oral tradition about who won and who did what.
They're about as accurate as a Dominican Republic birth certificate. So,
Exactly.
Well, I mean, Albert Pujols is 55, and he's they say he's 40. So,
I'm wondering about the Japanese leagues and the Korean leagues. Well, you have Satoru Oh. Would he be the champion, the home runs, the all-time home run leader? Obviously, there's Ichiro
would be the all-time hits.
If you add his hits from the Japanese leagues to the MLB, he surpasses Pete Rose.
Well, the MLB said this was long overdue. No kidding.
Yeah.
But I would have more respect if they had done it. Okay, maybe not in the 50s or 60s, but I don't know, the 80s, the 90s, 10 years ago, whatever, but now everything's a social justice thing. So if you really wanted to make a statement, and this is nice, I think this is a nice gesture, kind of like the Sarah Fuller incident.
And speaking of Notre, no.
But if you really want to make a statement, then let's try and, as best you can, come up with years of service for these guys, and give the descendants this money that's been accumulating for the last 65 years. However, if you do that, you need to also do it for the white ball players that fell 2 months or 4 months short, because back then you had to have, it was either 4 or 4.5 years of service time before you qualified. Not now, it's after day one.
There are about 3,400 ball players who now qualify, though, for Major League Service.
I'm just saying.
That's
I'm sorry you lost a gazillion dollars this last year, but you got a lot of that. To me, would make a statement. We're making you Major League ball players and giving you the status. It's a nice gesture. Plus, to really, we're going to give you the money that should have been due you, because we were a racist organization until 1947, even until 59.
With
the
Boston,
Red Sox didn't have a black player until 59.
Well, they're still trying to make up for things in Boston. They did a Hats Off to Heroes event this past season, and instead of honoring what, as they typically do, a military hero, they honored a Black Lives Matter leader, a guy named Ernst Jean-Jacques Jr. and
JJ.
Mr. EJJJ recently was arrested in Swampscott, Massachusetts, for punching an 80-year-old lady in the mouth because he didn't like her political affiliations. Boston is trying to make things up, and like Major League Baseball, doing it all wrong.
Yeah. Well, it just seems like when things get a little bit, the temperature rises in the country with all this racial, they throw a bone out and say, okay, now everybody's gonna have number 42 on their jersey and a special day, and we're gonna do this, and it's just to kind of like throw a bone, but nothing really ever gets fixed. It's like you want to fix something, there's ways to fix it, there's ways to deal with it, but just.
Well, like throwing a bone, because how did they salute the guy? They mentioned his name in an empty stadium.
Yeah.
So if you'd done it with people there, some people would applaud and say, "Hey, that's great," and other people wouldn't have applauded,
Right.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know. All right. Let's go into Bud Black's, the manager of the Rockies, wanting to change up things a little bit with the DH. I still have not seen that, guys. You're telling me
No,
that
I've
the
read.
DH is not going to be in the National League. I keep seeing guys going, they haven't decided
Right,
yet.
and I saw that again this morning, that they haven't decided yet. But 3 weeks ago, I read it was not going to be a part of the 2021 season.
Well, Atlanta let their one of their outfielders go that had a good year. What was his name? Duvall?
Yeah, Duvall.
Okay.
And
They're not going to do that if there's any inkling that they let this guy go.
And
This
San
guy
Diego didn't re-sign, was it Moreland? Because same reason.
Well, let's go into the Bud Black's thing that he came up with. I thought it was pretty. You kind of liked it, and you didn't say anything. So if you want to leave now and come back, that's great.
No.
Will it help Notre Dame in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Well,
It's going to help Notre Dame beat Alabama.
Yeah.
Tell me
With
about
Sarah
that.
Fuller
Yeah,
kicking.
yeah. She's our new kicker.
So Bud Black wants to have the DH removed once your starting pitcher is removed. So that's, and some teams are thinking now of going to a 6-man rotation. So, I mean, back in the day, the old-timey days, if you didn't complete what you started, you weren't a real man back there. You think all the guys have made that. So obviously the game has changed. But that is kind of an interesting aspect. So you got your DH. If your starter comes out in the 7th or 8th inning, well, your DH may not get one more bat, or you put him in the field.
Right.
Conversely, if a guy gets bombed in the 2nd or 3rd inning, your DH, if he doesn't go in the field, he's going to have it out with that pitcher because he just cost him 3 out of his 4 at-bats.
Right.
That day. So
6-man rotation?
Yeah,
that's
several teams.
Well, I think they put this rule in, or they're talking about this rule to eliminate these openers. The relief pitchers coming in for the first inning, and what do they call that? The opening.
The opener.
Yeah,
the opener.
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of that.
Exactly.
But if you're concerned about pitchers and their health and everything, and then you have to have a manager, and he's contemplating, well, should I take this guy out? I'm going to lose or should I keep him in? Maybe I'll keep him in.
In the 1965 World Series, Koufax started Game 1. He threw a four-hitter, I think, in Game 4, and a 3-hitter in Game 7, and he was the MVP of the series. That's any complete games.
Yeah.
3 complete games in 7. And these guys want a 6-man rotation.
If you go to a 6-man rotation and you can't get to anyway, it would. I don't know that it's going to encourage starting pitchers, but they're not going to be looking over their shoulder in the dugout after 4 2/3 inning, going, "Can I come out now?" Because you're wasting your DH unless you put your DH in a position spot.
I noticed these guys, when I first noticed that, these pitchers hardly pitching anything, is when they would be taken out in the 5th inning, giving up 4 runs, and they run off with their chests puffed out like they did something, Yeah. When I saw that, and that was the attitude of, like, I kept us in the game, that's when things changed.
Yeah.
And it was like, I used to like the pitchers when Lackey was pitcher for the Angels, and Socha would come out, and Lackey would say, "Are you kidding me, Soch? You're going to take me out now." I love that.
Yeah,
because
Bob Gibson did the same.
Well, they didn't even.
Until Tim McCarver stay back behind the catch.
Yeah, they wouldn't even come out for him. They would, and then the man said, forget it. Let him, Yeah. But I mean, there was an attitude, and it got the best out of the players. And now they're pampered.
Well, on bat day, they used to give away bats. Now they have
regulation
pacifier night or something.
Yeah. Well, they in New York, in the Bronx, what happened? They gave away the bats.
That's true.
A lot of windshields were busted.
That's
so
right.
It was a tough defeat that day, and they took it out on them.
I think it's an interesting idea. I think it's too radical for baseball.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I love it.
Let's go into talk a little bit about the draft league, and also coinciding with that is now the independent leagues that are going to be forming up more so because of the 40 minor league teams that have been cut. You want to take the draft league first?
Well, I actually want to go back to the DH for just a second.
Okay.
DH, for many years, I resisted it, hated it. I read recently that in the what we would call the winter meetings, they just called them the National League meeting, in 1928, National League President John Haidler proposed the designated hitter rule because he said fans were tired of seeing weak hitting pitchers come to bat. Oh. And that's 92 years ago. I think the time has come. So now
it's fermenting.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to go to the draft league?
Draft league, and then along with that, the independent league.
I think the draft league is another way for baseball to screw the would-be minor leaguers. You have guys with who have been tagged as prospects, not yet signed, and they're going to be going to play in stadiums where they're selling tickets, putting fans in the seats, and teams making money. But these guys are not going to get paid. They're just going to be able to show their wares after having shown them all through high school and all through college, most of them. And now again, they're in another scout league.
But the thing is, they're not even there to really make the major leagues. They're there to play catch with the prospects.
Well, and if you're a number one draft pick, I mean, not just number one, but in the top number one, 30 picks, you're not going to risk injury or having a bad month or 5 weeks, and you go from the number 8 pick to the second round.
This is supposed to be a lead up, though, to the All-Star break, where they're gonna play from early spring till the All-Star break and get in 80 games or something like that, and then the draft will take place mid-season, and these guys, are
20 rounds.
Yeah, they're gonna come off of these teams. And I think they're going to be expected to play for these teams. And I think that you said that the New York Penn League is one of those?
Yeah, all but one of the franchises from the New York Penn League. So those folks in those towns will go from, well, it was, I guess now, most recently short season rookie ball to this 68 season, with all college players, and then they'll be gone. Those people will never come back for a second year, or they're going to do one and done.
The quality of ball will improve.
Yeah.
From the rookie league, from the
but
partial season.
There's
rookie
no
league?
tie-in for these fans a lot of fans that aren't in a major league city, and they have like a AAA team or AA team of, they will root for that major league team that has the minor league in their town usually.
Well, and along with that, because this kind of coincides with cities losing their A franchise, or whatever franchise, and some of them for this draft league. And so there's going to be more independent leagues. The former coach of Boise State was telling me like a month and a half ago that Boise Hawks would probably become an independent team. And sure enough, that's what has happened because, number one, we have a very antiquated stadium.
Right.
Stadium looks good for like 1973, whenever it was built. But so we were penalized because we don't have a good stadium. The good news on that, though, is we didn't just build a state-of-the-art stadium for millions of dollars and got maybe a AAA team or a AA team, and now we're with an independent team because that's what's happened with Fresno. They not too many years ago they built this stadium that holds like 10,000 plus. I think it was like 32 million taxpayer money. It's still owed. I don't understand all of the financial thing, didn't read up on all that. But now those people are maybe going to have a rookie A-ball team. They're still deciding if they want to do that because they just gotten screwed. And the other team was the New Orleans Baby Cakes. And,
as opposed to Crab.
Yeah, and they moved to Wichita to become the Wichita Wind Surge. Well, on the premise, New Orleans was AAA, and they were going to go to AAA Wichita, and they were going to open up that stadium this year. Now, I think they're going to be AA, so and that stadium cost $75 million. So now instead of going to this team has left New Orleans, going to Wichita, AAA. No, not going to be AAA. So instead of a win-win for all this, I think it's a win for MLB.
Well, doesn't the teams, don't they give any money to the city to build the park? If don't they help out? I mean, if they have a major league team and they have a contract with the city,
1/3 of all of the minor league franchises are gone. with the stroke of a pen this year.
I know, like the Dodgers would have their minor league. They'd have Vero Beach would be a team that would be one of their A ball or rookie or high A. So at least they were clicked in. I mean that to me is like, I think the major league team should have their own and own it. I mean, they could have somebody else run it and everything and have it in the city.
I think if they're going to get this draft league thing, then they ought to start subsidizing college programs.
Yeah, I do too.
College programs are subsidized currently by the football programs at schools like Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And elsewhere.
Also, it said that the MLB was going to make traveling better for these teams, and like the minor leaguers weren't going to have to pay clubhouse dues to the equipment manager, and I don't. But here's one other one too: the St. Paul Saints. That have been so successful in the last 28 years. Bill Murray's one of the owners. Right. And they're 10 miles outside of Minneapolis, out of where the Twins play.
Yeah.
And they've been very successful as an independent team and doing all this, Pigs bringing up baseballs to umpires. I don't know if that's a comment there or not, but and just wacky stuff. Really well. And they're 10 miles away from where the Twins play. They're going to be a AAA team. Great for the Twins.
Oh, yeah.
For the Twins,
because
right.
they can put these guys
Right
in
there.
and out. You're 15 minutes away.
Yeah, you're being cut. You might as well walk down to the ballpark and.
But now they're going to be more corporate, and they're going to lose a lot of that spontaneity. The tickets can't be that much more. A AAA from a independent, but they're not going to be $50 a piece. But still, they're going to lose that luster.
Speaking of minor league cities that are losing their identities, the Cleveland Indians are going to lose their identity too.
Shemp, by the way, we forgot to introduce him. Yeah, these guys right here, 40s, 50s, no more. Well, this guy was axed. Pardon the pun.
That's Chief Wahoo.
Yeah. So now, I just one night we don't have a lot to do, so we were just texting back and forth. Me probably more than you. So Paul, you came up with a good nickname. I thought the Cleveland Rockers. They're in the the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Kelly, you had I'll get to yours last because I thought that was real good. I thought of the Pipes. To the woke people think, peace pipes. I get it. Or the Skins, again for the woke people, Redskins, But how about Indianapolis? The Cleveland
Indianapolis.
But I thought yours was good, Kelly. The Tribe. Because, and you said because?
Because you can go to Africa and there's tribes. You can go to the Middle East and there's tribes. You can go anywhere in the world and there's certain tribes and they fight and they do their thing. And so it just isn't
It's
Indians.
Inclusive for all of us.
All of us.
All Americans.
Yeah. If it
wherever
insults,
you're from, we're all happy tribesmen.
yes.
Or
If
women.
Some have tribes, some have stooges.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Shemp? Okay. Oh, and lastly, not to end on a downer note, but I'm going to do that. James Harden with the Houston Rockets, because the NBA starts Tuesday.
Oh, great.
Hardly wait.
Well, yeah.
He has 3 years left on his contract with the Houston Rockets at $132 million total, but he wants to trade because he's not happy.
Oh,
So
wow.
I've seen some of the stuff why he's not happy. I won't go into that. It really doesn't matter. But he obviously is somebody who has never had no said to him in a while.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, you're the employee, but they'll give in. He'll get his way. And okay, I'm sorry to end on that downer note, but no more of this. So we're wrapping up.
Okay.
How do you want to wrap up? It's the
Wait.
Christmas season.
Merry Christmas, to the 14 people who are watching us.
And happy Hanukkah too.
Yeah. And Kwanzaa,
Kwanzaa.
Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah. And to Tom Cruise, we forgive you. Anyway,
We'll wear our masks.
happy holidays.
This is Tom
and,
right here.
Yeah. See you next time.
You hit the ball out of the park. Speak Sports.